Hey, Scott Austin here from Jade Puma, and I'm just going to do a review, store teardown of ScottSigler.com. So this is a website that sells books and other things related to the books from the author. It's an existing Shopify store, and I'm going to start with the product page because it's the most important page on the site. So here I just, came up on one of the books, and this is a book that is not available on the website. So it's got a links to Amazon, Audible, and other retailers, which is awesome, right? One thing I've done before for other stores is have these buttons be the branded ones. So we actually use an Amazon look and feel button and an Audible look and feel and a Barnes and Noble look and feel, just so that customers can identify with them more quickly. It's one of those little fine points. For a book that is written by you and this is your store, I would have expected more content on this page. The synopsis is just a paragraph. I would expect on this page an about the author section, and that could be content that is written in one page and then just used on all pages, where we would have a tag, or you might have about the authors because there's more than one author in some situations. But someone may come straight to this page from the internet, and what I like to do is put as much information on the product page as possible without them having to go to other pages. So an about the author would be a great one. Also, shipping policy, return policies, those kind of things. And just more content, right? If there's art inside the books, if all there is the cover, then we can't do this. But if there's other art inside the books, I would show, images of that. If there's professional reviews, like, the New York Times wrote it up, or, anybody else did, I would, put excerpts of those reviews in there. As much content as you can put in. And on the You May Also Like, I wouldn't, have the random You May Also Like that comes from Shopify, because you can see here it's got this Mount Fitzroy, which is not part of the same series. Although the Rookie's a GFL and the Champion's a GFL, just like this one is. I would make sure that we actually say, see all the books from the GFL series and show all the ones from the series here. And that would be some, custom section that we could make to do that. And then the comments, this looks like it's the Shopify product review app, which is not the best of apps. I would do an app like Judge Me is my favorite review app here, so that it solicits reviews. And you want to see if you can pull in reviews. So you're selling your book in a whole bunch of different places. Can you pull in the reviews from them? Do they allow you to pull in the reviews and put them into your store? That would be great if you could, and put that content there. And then with a review app, we could also share reviews, across the whole series of books. Or if there's a paperback and a hardcover version of the books, share reviews across them, kind of thing. To populate things. Because right now with this product reviews from Shopify, there's no stars showing up, and it's just comments, and it's kind of bland. Doesn't add as much value there. Now let's click on the Amazon link, because I like some of the things that Amazon's doing with this book that we could leverage on the website, right? So the first one is these icons down here where it talks about the reading age. It's book 6 of 6 in a series, the length, the language, the grade level, the publication date, and there's a couple more of them. So these would be great little icons that you could add into the Shopify store pretty easily, and have some tags drive it or something like that to, once again, have more content and breathe things to life. And then, see, they're showing all the books in the series. That's nice. Like we talked about that already. All these product details we could have in there, and there's the about the author, the same thing I was talking about there, right? So, you should be beating Amazon's product page for your product. Your product on the Shopify store should be better than Amazon's listing, although they'll have better reviews because they sell more, right? So you can't beat them on reviews, but on content, you should be able to beat them pretty easily. So, use them as the minimum bars is what you need to have in your store for content. And this book also has a hard copy version here, which is kind of confusing. The limited edition signed and numbered hardcover of The Gangster is still available. So I can click, so we could phrase that a little bit better or make it a little more obvious. And maybe it's a button here, a hardcover, version or something. So I know it's one of my choices on how to purchase it. So I click over to that, and here, I get 4 interest-free payment installments for orders over $50, but this book is $32. So first thing we want to do is to not show this for, purchases that are, or for books that are less than $50. And now this is the limited edition signed, right? I believe it said signed. Yeah, signed and numbered hardcover. So here, in my product photo, there's just one photo, and it's a different cover than the other version had, which maybe that's the way it is. But here it doesn't say that it's a signed, no, yeah, it does say it right here, but I'd like to see a photo of that. I'd like the second photo to be the signed and numbered version of it, right? So I could see, 1 of 200 or whatever the limited run is kind of thing, and ScottSigler, see the signature. And also what we could do is if you can add a personal note, if you allow the customer, the purchaser, to add a personal note, we could have a little box that says, do you want to add a personal message? Put that in here and make that a line item property so that you could see it. But then the rest of this page is the same comments as I had on the other version. Now let me quickly go to a non-book. This navigation was confusing to me, the filters, right? So I click on plus, nothing happens. I click on plus, nothing happens. I click on plus, I get magnets. I click on magnets, nothing happens. So this is broken. And then it took me, once I did that, then I realized, I got to click on clothing, and then it'll give me all clothing. And that was not intuitive to me, but we could definitely improve the filter mechanism on the collection page. But let's just grab a product that is, so here, one of the things I would recommend is you have a black and orange color scheme, which is great. And you see here on this page, the brightest thing on this page is this get 10% off button. So I would make your add to cart button the same as that bright orange. Our add to cart should be the brightest button on the page. And what a lot of themes do is when there's the buy now type thing with Google Pay or Apple Pay, it changes the color. This is probably your normal color, and it messes it up. So it's something easy to fix. I don't know what this available at thing is for. So if it's like logic that says, if this is available at Amazon or something, let's just edit the code so that when it isn't available at Amazon, we don't show an available at text. Size chart, it's fine. I would do is there a series of these, how do you get the whole GFL collection, kind of thing. But this is fine. Only one color. Do you really need to have that button there? I'm watching this change every time to see if any are out of stock or anything. And I guess they're okay. So, that one's not too bad. So let's go to books. So this is a page, not a collection. And so it's probably a manually built page where I would think about having what I would call a list of collections page. This is a list of products right now. And it's a list of products that's bucketized by probably your series or, whatever you want to call these franchises. And that makes total sense to do that. But maybe what we could do is make that just, make it more, just pick the Sun Symbol series, the Crypt, Infected Trilogy. These would be the only links on the page. Generations Trilogy, GFL novels. Have those buckets, what people are picking, and not have to pick, because let's see, for example, can I click? No, I can't click on Alien Stories, right? So what if I want to look at all the Alien stories and compare them and contrast them or something? So it'd be nice if the customer could come in and just say, I want to see GFL. They click on GFL and they see just the GFL stuff. So I would make this a list of franchises, a list of collections, whatever you want to call that, and then have it for each of your big buckets. And then once they click on that, they just pick GFL, and then they can see all the GFLs. Because this page becomes long, and on mobile, this is probably really long. So I would do that. And then let's click on another shopping link at the top. Let's see what happens when I hit shop. I just get a list of all products. Once again, I would have this, are you looking for books, clothing, or swag? Do you have any swag? So once again, there were no magnets, and now there's no swag. So if something's missing, like there's no products that are supporting this, you don't want this showing up. So there might be something where the store is hard-coded to do certain things, and it's not dynamically generated. So you want to have things dynamically generated as much as possible. That's not always possible. So if it is, you just got to stay on top of it. If it's hard code, you got to stay on top of it. You have no more swag, you got to remove it from the navigation and those kind of things. And everywhere that it shows. Now let's go across your top level. I'm not going to talk about the home page yet. Books we already talked about. Podcast. Yeah, so I wouldn't have a page that says coming soon. That's just not my way of doing things. I'm a big fan of pushing things out as soon as you can, right? But if you're not ready, if you don't have it yet, then don't show it. But what I think you could do is, I think I saw a page before. Yeah, subscribe. So right now you got this podcast, subscribe, podcast, live streams, and social media. And so there's social media, which is probably duplicate of this stuff up here. There's streaming sites, which is also probably duplicate of this stuff up here. And then there's the so your podcast could be these buttons here, right? And notice these buttons are a little more branded, like we we're talking about on the products page. But I would have your podcast link right now linked to this page. Because there's something there. It's not saying coming soon. It's like, hey, you want podcast? Boom, here you go. Listen on Google Podcasts right now. They can click off, and there's the content, right? So we're not saying coming soon. We're actually fulfilling on the promise, right? And then later on, when you have podcasts, I think what you want to do, and I would highly recommend this, is you want to host every one of your podcast episodes on your website. And from an SEO standpoint, that's one of those things where when anybody searches for your podcast content, you want them to come to this site versus your podcast hosted site, because you may have a podcast. Let's see if you have one. Let's go back to that page we were on a second ago. All right, this is taking me to Google Podcasts, so it's not your site. Let's see what happens when we click on visit. So that takes you there. If I click on one of these, yeah, there's not a lot of content here, right? So what you want to do is, let me just show you how I do it on mine. Because I have a podcast every couple weeks. So what I do is, here's my podcast in my Shopify store. So this is a blog. You can have more than one blog on your website. So you could have one just for podcasts, or if you have multiple podcasts, you could have multiple, right? And usually you can, with your podcast host, embed a podcast episode really easily. But what I do is, each of my podcast episodes, the full transcript, sometimes I write my podcast, so I actually type it out, which is what I did on this one. Other times, I just record it ad hoc, and then I convert it to text after the fact. But if we go to my podcast, so my podcast is hosted at the ShopifySolutionsPodcast.com. It's hosted by Buzzsprout. But if I click on one of these episodes, it doesn't have the full transcript, right? So I say, go get the transcript at Jade Puma, my website. So this is a way for you to win the SEO game, is on your website, make a blog post for each one of your podcast episodes with more content on it than is in the podcast feed. And that could be a transcript. I don't know how long your podcasts are. The transcription software I use is automated, right? and they charge you 25 cents per minute. So an hour costs you $15 or whatever. But that's a nice way to get content up there and be competitive in the SEO game against all the other places that your podcast is hosted, right? Because all these places have a page. If people are searching for your content, they can find it, and then they're off to this other place, and they get sucked up into that world. You want to get sucked up into your world. So, uber point being, as you come up with a podcast, I would do it as a blog and make sure you have more content on it than is on any of the hosted sites out there. Connect. This seems like it's got less than the other page we were looking at. Subscribe did. So I would, once again, use this one looks a little bit better. It's easier to read kind of thing. And maybe you don't need podcast and Connect. You can all be one for right now, but you could have two different ones. But I like this look and feel better. Blog. So these look like, I don't know what Slay is. Here's Madden. You got lots of content. That's nice. So yeah, there's your embed. So I don't know if Slay is your podcast or not. So this might be what we're talking about. And what you could do is, I don't know if you really want comments on your pages or not. But what you could do is you could have more than one blog. So right now everything is under the news blog. You could create more than one blog and then bucketize your content. The podcast is over here, video stream is over here, generic news about press events and author autographing events that you go to, that's in another place. So you can have more than one blog on your website. I showed you mine a second ago, right? So portfolio, right? That's a blog. Blog's portfolio. Tutorials, that's another blog. Shopify tutorials. And then podcast is another tutorial. And then I have a fourth one at the bottom here, blog. And that's, blog. So in other words, I have 4 different blogs so that each one is a bucket of its own content, right? So it looks to me like you could benefit from that kind of thing where all the Slay stuff is in one, and then you figure out the right buckets for you. Or if it works, that they're all, one big combined blog, that's fine too. Whatever's right for your business. So you are your brand, right? So your whole brand is described in 350 words? I think you need to do a lot better job with this page here. A lot better job. Because I bet you got a lot of content. I bet you got a lot of accolades. I think I saw something. Yeah, New York Times best-selling author, ScottSigler, right? That's fabulous, right? So you could do a lot of things. And let me just show you one. This is a local San Diego guy. And, once again, he's an artist, right? So his brand is him. And here he's telling a little bit of a story, a photo of himself. He's got a video that was taken somewhere. Here he is with a news reporter. Here he is doing a talk. Here's his TED Talk, and that's a video. More about his gallery, another video, right? So, in photos. So, really beef up your about and really, tell the story of you and your accomplishments and why people should like you so much, right? I love the fact you got dogs in your photo. I think that, makes it human, but that's also not the best picture of you, right? You could do a lot better with the photos, and I would have multiple of them, and show yourself in different settings, right? Getting your New York Times, award, or this or that, and presenting, and signing books, all sorts of fun things. This page here, I could see easily a dozen photos and 1,500 words, and a bunch of icons for accolades and all that kind of stuff. So, this is an important page, and I would definitely leverage it. Now, all collections, let's see what that one looks like. Yeah, this is just the collection. This is a Shopify thing. It's not really merchandised. I would get rid of that. You're not doing a service to your customers here at all. Shop all. So I like the shopping links to be in the top. Now, because you're an artist, as an author, I consider that art, right? For most stores, what I say is only put shopping links at the top. And the exception is for artists. And you saw that on Viz Art Inc. a second ago, where About the Artist was in the top nav also. So I would be making this all about shopping more so than it is right now. And maybe, so books is a subset of shop. And shop also has clothing and swag. So maybe you just need books, clothing, or merchandise. And then, blog and connect and podcast, you may want to have them at the top, you may not, right? The About Scott, you definitely do. But point being, if your header is all focused on shopping, there's no need for your footer to be focused on shopping. All right, let's look at the information. Contact us. Yeah, it's a pretty bland page. You could do a lot better job on that. Appearances. Now, this is the kind of thing, if you're doing lots of appearances, I would actually put in the header, because that might be a reason that people come. By the way, that's a fantastic photo. If this is your books that people are holding, and I don't know if it is or not, but if it is, that's a fantastic photo. You need a dozen more of those on this site. By the way, this is a horrible photo, right? The pixelation of it is absolute crap. Same thing with this one. You're making these go full width, and they just look like garbage. So here I am on the appearances page. Come get some button label. Star Wars meets the... So this doesn't work. This doesn't work. So once again, don't have pages that don't have content, right? The call to action here is appearances. If you don't have any appearances scheduled, take that out of your nav. You can still have the page, but I wouldn't have it in the nav right now. FAQ. That's actually nice, but you got these garbage things here still on there. Promo submission. So I don't know what run in our feed means. So is this for your podcast or something like that? And you might have, under your podcast a sponsor or something like that. And if it's I assume it's for your podcast, but if it is, let's be a little more clear about that. And is there any reason why there couldn't be a contact form here? For easy to submit kind of thing. Request. Yeah, it seems kind of confusing, right? So we've got this connect at the top. We've got contact us. We've got promo submission. We got request. It seems to me like we could organize that a little bit better, so people can find what they're looking for. Comment policy. I'd be surprised if you get that many comments. If you do, great, but I would be surprised if you did. Very rarely do I have comments in a store, as in almost never. Privacy policy, it's fine. Terms of service. So you don't have a shipping policy or return policy. Those are normal ones you might want to think about putting in there. Login, registered, kind of not needed to have both. Because if you do login, it says create account right there. So let's go to your home page now. I like this image. I like the branding behind it. I like the black, how you're wearing black. The background is black. Orange, which is a great contrast to black. That's nice. Blog post of say slay. I would think, well, what is your main call to action on the site, right? You only get to pick one. Now, you can have a primary and a secondary, but your primary is either consume content, like listen to my podcast, or buy books, right? Or, paraphrase, buy or listen or consume, right? So if your primary goal is buy, then I would make this buy. What I like to do on the buy side of things is take whatever buy links we have on the top and basically make them graphical down below so that people on the phone, because on the phone you got to get that little hamburger menu. So people on the phone who aren't going to, open up the hamburger, they can see what the buy links are, like, oh, books, merchandise, swag, that kind of stuff. Now, if your main purpose is consume content, then, we'd have to do that also. But here, I would think that these would be buy links. Now, this view all, is this view all blog post? Yep, it is. And then our books, audiobook does nothing. Ebook, yeah, audiobook does nothing. Ebook, there's just one ebook on the site. That surprises me. Paperback, none. Hard. So this thing is broken, right? Which sucks. And then story about Scott. That works. No, it takes. Why take them to Wikipedia? You should have all this content on your about page. There should be nothing on here that they can't find on your own site. I would keep them on your site and put them to your about page when they click here. Free serialized audiobooks. Is that this here? Because this says podcast subscribers. That's a confusing. Is this if I'm already a subscriber, or is this how I subscribe, right? And then is this related to this? I don't know. So that's very confusing to me. So then we got this free weekly fiction podcast, Sigler and Play streaming sites, Scott social media. Yeah, I don't like this element either. It's too confusing to me. It seems like you've got a podcast and some streaming thing. Those are your two main calls to action. Keep it simple, right? Don't take them to everything in the world. Take them to, and here we have listen on Apple Podcasts here, and then listen on Apple Podcast here. iHeart is duplicated. This one has a transparent background. This one has a white background, so there's some polish that has to happen there. But instead of giving them everything and every choice in the world, be focused on what you want them to do. Do you have a website for your podcast where they can see all the links and subscribe on iTunes or Google or Stitcher or whatever? If you can send them to that, or just have one here, like subscribe to our podcast. Click here, and then takes them to a page where they get to pick all the different options for the podcast. Subscribe to our streaming. Click here, take them to a page where they can see all the different options. So break things down a step at a time instead of making two choices at one time, podcast and platform. First choice, podcast. Second choice, second page, platform. Right? Predator. So Scott's latest book. I love the idea of new. Oh, this is pre-order. That's nice. So up here we don't have. Right. So if I go to books, there's nothing about newest. Right. So a normal piece of merchandising that is really good is you could have pre-orders or just released. Right. You could have books. See all. Books, and it could be a sub-menu or a top menu. There's a number of ways to do that. But if you've got pre-orders, that's going to generate the most excitement. I would have a pre-order link right at the top nav so that people can click on that and get there. And the same thing with, just released. I don't know how often you're releasing, books for sale. If it's like one every 2 years, then you don't want to have that link forever. But you could put it up there, for the first, 3 months that the book is out. And the whole time a book is in pre-order, have it up there. So this looks like it's not connected to something because it says your blog title here and it's got lorem ipsum. So, that kind of garbage is not fun. We send one newsletter every month or two. We'll let you know about new books, developments in Siglerism, and other fun stuff. That sounds apologetic. we're not going to send a lot of content, kind of thing. Be bold. Be daring. Let them know that you got fucking awesome content, and here it is. So don't be so soft about this. I get we only send one newsletter every month or two, but we'll let you know about new books, developments in Siglerism, and other fun stuff. I would be a little more bold in that statement. Like stay in tune with the best sci-fi content available. Subscribe to our newsletter, something like that. Search. I assume you have a search up here. There's no need to have it twice, really. And then I don't like this footer. I don't like these horizontal lines here. I don't like the fact that login is not capitalized where all the other words are. There's inconsistency there. I don't like this. Well, there's nothing wrong with that over there. Get 10% off, little promo. Is that any purchase or your first purchase? If it's for your first purchase, I would just put it in your first purchase or something like that, just to be really clear about things so people can't complain later. Now, something to think about is I think your site needs to be bolder, right? And what I mean by that is, let's go here. We could try a dark background, right? Now, the reason I did a dark background with this site, and when I did, it's a La Jolla shop, he was really nervous about this and wasn't a fan of the idea to start off with. But once we got it in place, he actually liked it a lot. And the reason I was doing it was a dark background makes this content pop to the foreground a little bit better. But having a dark background, there's a little bit of work you got to do to pull it off. But it's bolder, right? And I think it maps to your theme better. And the reason I said that, right, is I was looking at this. Now that's a pure, 000 hex black, I think. That's really dark, right? This orange doesn't seem exactly the same as the orange elsewhere, by the way. So there's an inconsistency in the color scheme. But I like how bold this was. Boom, right? You're standing up and saying, take notice of me. That might be something interesting in your site, and it kind of maps to this, background here. Now let's look at this site on mobile. Yeah, not a fan of that. So here, right, it's the same banner on mobile and desktop. I would have different banners on mobile and desktop because now this looks like a side note. On desktop, it was boom, right? Here's our brand. Here's ScottSigler, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, hey, slay. And this doesn't even lay out well in this, right? This is what my eyes see now, not this on the homepage in mobile. Yeah, the footer looks a little bit better there than it did on desktop. And our hamburger... Yeah, I think it'd be nice if it was in black background with orange alternating. It'd be fun. I think that is about it on the store. I think I've reviewed most of the things there. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me know your thoughts, and thanks.